Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Morey Moment. My name is Justin, and today I'm here with Gregg Alltop. He's our production manager, and we're going to go into some of the culture of Morey. We're going to talk about some of the challenges and struggles over the past couple of years and lead into some of the future direction of Morey and what's exciting about it. So, Gregg, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about your career and how long you've been here with Morey. When did you first join the team, and what role were you in, and where are you now?
So I started in November of 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the stockroom. I was the assistant supervisor in the stockroom. I had heard about Morey before I started here. A couple of my friends worked here. They were like, "You got to come in and work." So I came in for an interview. Noticed right away, the people.
Mm-hmm.
The guy walking me around the shop floor and showing me everything was saying hi to everybody, and it was all smiles. I thought, wow, everybody really enjoys working here. So I came in working in the warehouse. Moved my way up to that manager, got promoted, so I took over his role. I also took over the receiving department for a few years. After doing that for a little while, I moved into our surface mount technology area, which is our first phase of production, as a supervisor. And then in 2017, we segmented the company, and I took over as production manager for all of our automotive customers. About a year ago, we kind of put everything back together, and now I'm the production manager for all of our wireless plus devices. So it's all of our GPS and IoT devices.
What challenges come along with the production of those devices? What unique parameters need to be met to make sure that they're secure, that they're operable when they leave the door?
Well, we have a bunch of tests. There's visual inspection, there's automated inspection. All of that we try to automate as much as possible and have it a very hard pass or fail and not much gray area. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we have to work with many different departments, whether it's the design engineering, test engineering, our quality management. The production team is working with every other department in the company almost at all times to make sure we're ensuring quality of the products.
Yeah. It seems with some of the shortages that have been going on, and you guys still having to make sure, one, that where you're sourcing it from still meets your quality standards. What maybe has been a key point in that whole process with this challenge that has allowed you to continue to meet that quality that Morey's been known for?
Well, luckily we had some foresight, and we put a team together internally with strategic sourcing and the quality department to almost have a team that's just dedicated to how are we driving in parts, how are we driving in broker parts, making sure that we're not getting counterfeit parts that could get to the customer, because the counterfeit market, they're getting smarter and smarter, and they're seeing this as an opportunity. So it was really interesting to watch the company react and come together with all different departments to say, okay, this is the point person from each department to say, this is what I'm responsible for when it comes to sourcing now. Mm-hmm. So it really it kind of helped us sharpen our edge a little bit when it comes to quality incoming.
When we look at the VTO and the system that's been set up recently, you were here, now you've been here over a decade. Mm-hmm. The before, the during of the implementation, and then where we are now, do you want to speak to some of the values that were established there, the vision and direction, and how that's helped with these challenges that you're talking about, or maybe how they've been highlighted in some of these challenges?
Well, it's building partnerships is one of our core values. Mm-hmm. And that's what we really saw was the building the partnerships internally and externally, right? We have to work with our distributors and some of the manufacturers of the parts we need. And it was really breaking down kind of any silos that we had internally where, okay, these guys are design engineering, so they pick the parts, and then when they pick the parts, they're done with it, and now it moves over here. But now we've all kind of congealed, and we're all really, building that partnership internally to make sure that at the end of the day, we're shipping the quality products.
The one that keeps coming up in some of the other conversations is embracing creativity. Mm-hmm. And it seems like with these challenges, the current model and what was going on wasn't going to be able to solve these problems. How has that communication adapted for you guys through the pandemic and through these shortages that is making the whole process stronger for the future?
Well, it's all been out of necessity, but it's the pandemic in general has had such a ripple effect that everywhere you have to be creative now from every aspect, whether it's sourcing parts in, getting people to come work here, whether it's hourly entry level or it's highly skilled labor. We've all had to take a step back from ownership all the way down to say, how do we, all these challenges, like how do we get creative for all this? Because there is no playbook anymore, right? It's like the pandemic hit, the supply chain shortage, the labor crisis, everything all kind of hit at once, and no one has seen that in our lifetime. So just getting creative was a big part of it too.
Speaking to your position, seems like one of the major demands is going to be on people, right? So in your role, what are you guys doing to try to facilitate and establish a culture that attracts people to actually want to come into the entry-level jobs? What are some of the avenues or specific points that you think are major values to the people who work within your team?
Well, what we like to do is when we have incoming people, our point person to get them onboarded has been here for over 30 years. So a big thing that we like her to go and talk about is how long she's been here and how she's moved up, and case studies of other people that have come in at an hourly entry-level temporary job and have worked their way up into leadership roles. And we really hang our hat on that. Earlier in the year, I was able to promote someone that was an entry-level operator, came in from the temp agency, and she just proved herself, and now she's one of my production supervisors on our in-flight entertainment line. So it's all about showing people how you can come in and just get your foot in the door, and if you show that you line up with our core values and you have that common sense and that work ethic, that the sky's the limit to work here.
How's the implementation of traction, the scorecards, the issues lists, and the meetings allowed for an infrastructure for that example to continue to exist? The opportunity to find the employee that's doing a really good job and addressing the problems and the issues, but also being able to promote from within. How does that kind of level the playing field for someone who's newer versus someone who's been around?
Well, one of the nice things about traction is in every level 10 meeting, there's people headlines. And that gives anyone an opportunity to throw someone's name out there to say, this person has, they accomplished this week, or they excelled in this area. And it can be anybody in the company. And I think that really helps get people's names out there. And once you throw it onto your meeting, and then you have it in your meeting, it can go to the next level up meeting, so then they can all talk about it, and then word starts to spread. And now I hear, there's a second shift supervisor of mine, I've known for a while, that he's been the guy to go to, but it's hard to promote. And then when traction comes in, it's like now everybody knows his name, all the way up from ownership. They're always asking me, how's he doing? We see his name on these things a lot. So it's helped me be able to promote the team, to show, ownership and the executive team, maybe what they might not see on a day-to-day basis, and help promote, the people on the shop floor doing the work, so they can see a career path for themselves too. So they don't seem like they're just picking up a paycheck and going home. There's a name to the face.
Another part of the VTO and this whole process that I find inspiring is the direction and the future of Morey. What value has having a VTO and having the structure around that given to the recruiting process, to keeping morale high while you guys are dealing with multiple challenges from all angles?
Yeah. Well, it gives us the roadmap, which is the biggest thing. The biggest advantage that I see, should I say that again? The biggest advantage I see to traction is it gives us the roadmap, right? So it shows us, now there's a clear-cut picture that anyone that has access to traction can go in and see. And they can see, this is where we're going. We're all committing to this vision, right? And it can be anybody in the company that can look at that. And it's not gray, it's completely black and white. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to do it. Here's the list of menial tasks and bigger picture things that are going to drive us to this destination. And it really forces our accountability, because now if you're not, since it's plastered all over and anyone can see it on their laptop, if you're not getting something done, we can course correct very quickly and keep making sure we're on that path to meet, the 3-year goal, the 5-year goal, the 10-year goal.
How has the system allowed you to lean into the healthy conflict concept with issues as they come up?
Well, again, it's all black and white in front of your face now. So it's very easy for us to say, this is an issue. Let's just openly talk about it. And one thing I really like about Morey and the culture and the people here is you can't have the healthy conflict without the trust, right? That's where it starts. And I truly feel that the team that's been through the last few years has gone through so much that we've never thought we'd have to deal with, that we've built a level of trust that, just kind of naturally happened. So now the healthy conflict comes a lot easier because we trust each other and we know that we're all in this together and we're all in this for the right reasons.
I think the major parts of the C-level team and how I watch them interact with the leaders and how then the leaders are reacting and managing and working with the supportive staff, it really seems like those traits trickle all the way through.
Absolutely.
Is there any features you've bought in? You've been here for 10 years now. Is there any part of Morey that you see that comes from the executives that you really admire, respect, and try to emulate throughout the rest of your team?
Well, what I like about the entire executive team is they're willing to give anyone a chance that wants to step up and show that they can be a valued member of the team, myself included. I mean, when a few years ago, when Ryan DeBoer started to get more and more involved, it was just a matter of him walking through the shop floor and talking to people. And as him and I got to talking, we were very much aligned on a lot of our values and a lot of our work ethic and passion for leadership. And from there on, we just kept blossoming. Our friendship and our, coworker relationship just kept growing and growing. And now he trusts me and he trusts my team, which has helped. And, he's putting us and my peers in a position now to succeed.
Yeah. From a actual production standpoint, what have you learned over the past 10 years that is an advantage to you now? Is there something that sticks out? Was there an event or some sort of challenge that maybe at one point in time you had to overcome? Is there something that comes to mind there?
It's about establishing the right team, always. You can have all the processes in place, you can have all the operating software in place, but if you don't have the right people in place, it's not going to work. And I'm not going to say that the team's always been perfect. We've had to work through some things. But the team that we're working with right now is just, they hold themselves accountable. There are no walls anymore. And you can see it where the commercial guys are more involved with production than I've ever seen them. The production men and women are more involved with the commercial side than I've ever seen. And that's 100% because of Traction and Ryan DeBoer and Dana Morey saying, identifying who works well together. And they might be on completely different ends of the responsibility matrix, but if we put them all together, they're just going to blur those lines and work together to get the job done. And we've been very successful at that.
So the people aspect is important. Maybe talk about the technology. How has things come along on the production line that have revolutionized maybe how you guys are doing things currently?
So it's been nice with a lot of our in-house systems because we grow them internally. We work with our IT team to say, this is a problem. What's the solution we can work towards? And because we grow a lot of our systems internally, especially for pass-fail criteria, inspection criteria, any sort of measurements we need to do, because we're able to grow that internally, there's no limit. We can take that software that we use, the customer never sees it, but it houses all of our records and all of our quality, and we can just keep expanding on that and expanding on that as much as we want to. Just recently, we've implemented it in our operations tracker, a hourly throughput per product. So it used to be a whiteboard that you would just write on, but because technology is always evolving, we can now automate it and put it on big displays. So that way every person has a number out on the shop floor and they can see exactly what they're working towards and if they're ahead or behind and what they need to do to make up that time.
Yeah, that whole process out there, walking through the floor, it's incredible. The machines, the testing that it goes through, the team members that are working on them. Is there a part of the process that maybe you fell in love with when you were first here 10 years ago, or is there something that sticks out to you there that you really like?
Our SMT line, surface mount technologies, they're very cool. It's all we're doing is we're putting all the chips on our PCBs, but the machines we have can do up to 17,000 placements per hour. So it's really cool to just sit back and just watch the gantry just going back and forth, just placing, thousands of chips per hour. So that stuck out to me. So I was really happy to get into that. And then as I started to get into that, I really was looking at the mechanical assembly side that's more people focused. And that's something I really took onto, because you get the hourly operators involved and, the entry level labor involved with improvements, and they do it every day and they own it. So that's been a lot of fun to step into, and especially with the challenges from the pandemic, especially with staffing, we can now work with them to say, okay, I need 6 people in this cell. How do I do it with 4? Because that's all we can get right now. And we work with the operators to move things around. Maybe it's linear and we want to put it in a cell, U-shaped cell. So one person can be doing the first and last operation. And then they take that ownership on themselves. And it's been a lot of fun to watch. So it's kind of both sides of it, where it's been interesting to see the automation on the SMT side, but then it's been interesting to see just the people aspect stepping up on the more mechanical, hands-on side of things.
There's some major IoT megatrends: autonomy, electrification, just the interconnectivity and multiple different devices being able to communicate to one another. In these devices that are getting smaller and smaller, and devices that are getting more powerful and having more components, what kind of challenges does that present to you on the production side of things?
Well, we definitely need to look at, again, the surface mount technology area. Components are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which brings its own set of challenges. Some of our machines weren't rated to place that small of parts. So then we need to retrofit new heads and nozzles into these machines to make sure that we can place them to the micron to make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. And then again, with the technology that we have in the SMT area and throughout the plant, it's just getting that closed loop feedback constantly, where, we have our machines out there can tell you if you're placing 500 parts and one of them was slightly off, it's going to let you know. And then we can go back and, make the adjustments we need to make.
So in the production of those devices, what are some challenges maybe that I may be overlooking? So something, I think of the environment that they have to be in order to test them, but also to create these devices. What's maybe some parameters that I may be overlooking?
So a lot of things that people don't realize is we're completely humidity controlled. Like our temperature in our environment is completely controlled. We have upper and lower control limits because we have to have a certain relative humidity in the building at all times. So if you notice the big fans when you're walking through there, they're just misting water whenever we reach a lower control limit, just to keep that relative humidity up. ESD protection, so protecting everything we make from static electricity is very big. And when they built this building, they actually built those controls into the foundation of the building. So if you've noticed, what you don't see a lot in electronics manufacturing is a carpeted floor, which is something everybody points out when they come there. It's like, wow, it's carpeted, it's climate control, but we have to do those things. And there's actually copper wiring throughout the carpet, throughout the support beams that keep the roof up, in the actual foundation with the rebar. There's all these things that were built into the building to keep these controls in place. So it's not just a matter of, we opened up we bought a warehouse and opened up a manufacturing site. We built a manufacturing site for electronics.
Yeah. Can you highlight the benefits to us having everything in one roof and having us connected, having direct access to production line from the engineering standpoint? How does your feedback in that process with them help them design better devices for our customers?
Yeah. Well, it's really invaluable for us to have our design engineering in-house. We have worked with third-party external design before, and the amount of time wasted on back and forth and timing of communication, and then just things getting lost in translation and lost in communication, all that is by the wayside when our design engineering team, all they have to do is throw on an ESD smock and come down to see the product. So it's been interesting going, in the last few years, seeing the design engineering team build up and really start to incorporate manufacturing into our design for manufacturing process, the DFM process, because they'll come down and they'll just ask me for an operator. I've designed this piece of kit and I want to see if someone can put it together. And we're able just to do that right on the fly, and he can take notes and he can go back and make the changes. So having that in-house and building up that partnership where they're trusting us as basically their manufacturer to say, you can change this, you can change this, you can change this, and the quality will be better, the labor will be lower, all those things that we need to make sure that, the business is profitable.
One of the main pillars of the core value series is going into enriching people's lives through connected solutions. How do you feel that your role and your impact at Morey is in enriching lives?
So when I first heard that, enriching people's lives, my first thing I thought about was externally, right? And it felt more pointed externally to me. So I was kind of mulling that through when they first started kicking that around, and I thought, to me, that means internally, right? How are we enriching people's lives internally through connected devices? And it's giving people the opportunity to come in here and make a career for themselves. I mean, when I started, I was, single, and now I'm married and I have kids, and I've been able to build a life thanks to being here and getting opportunities. Yeah. And that's what I try to promote to my team and my team's team is, if you've got the right skill set, then let's work on it together and make you proud to go home and talk about what you did at work today. So the enriching people's lives, I take that personally, and how can I do that to the people that I see on a daily basis?
Wonderful. That's great. I see it and I feel it.
We're a tight group right now. And again, I don't want to keep going back to the pandemic, but I spent more time with Dana Morey, starting March of 2020 than I had before. And that's no slight on anyone. It's just out of necessity, we all had to come together and figure out, half the company's working from home now. The other half of the company has to come in, but how do we treat it? The CDC didn't have guidelines out and all those things, and supply chains dropping out. And we all literally, I know you guys talked to Tanvir earlier too. It was just, you'll be talking to Lisa, our HR rep later. Everybody jumped in and said, let's just solve these issues. And for that, I feel like we're all closer and we're all in sync, with, I don't even have to talk to those guys to know, what they're thinking. And traction's a big part of that too, right? The roadmap. We all know where we got to go. So it's been really interesting to kind of come up through the company and just get to know more and more people and just see that from every walks of life and every skill set level, we're all coming together and working through the problems. And it's been really exciting the last 2 years.
And moving forward, having the team that we're building now and the connection and that you've spoke about, is that one of the major things that you're excited about moving forward, and why this is such a great opportunity for you or maybe somebody who else who's younger who's joining into the team for the first time?
Well, because of how we've strengthened, it's going to be exciting to bring in new people because I think they'll take note of that right away. And we have gotten some new people in the last few months in higher up, like senior management positions. And you can see it right away. They're like, okay, there's no hard lines. Like we're all working together to solve these problems. And you can see when they're coming from, a larger global corporation where everybody's a number, where here it's like everybody's a name and they're a person. And it's just been exciting to see them come in and say like, wow, you're the production manager, but you wear your quality hat, you wear your process hat, you wear your design hat. Like we've just, we've got to do it all. So it's really cool to watch.
It is. It definitely is.
I'm here because I see the vision. I see the people. I'm totally bought in. So it's going to be fun.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. This has been a Morey moment, and it's been great to talk to you, Gregg.
Cool. Very nice.
Thanks.
Thank you.